I'm a freelance designer. I just received a large project to design a road sign. It's a sign to designate where pedestrians can cross. I grabbed my sketchbook right away and started putting down various designs, but none of them stood out as the one. One day, I went out for a leisurely stroll through the park to see if I could find some material to model from. I sat down on a bench to rest when I saw something before my very eyes. The rear view of a parent and child holding hands. The sight caught my attention. It was a father and daughter holding hands as they walked through a path shaded by trees. When I saw it, I pulled my sketchbook out of my bag and started drawing. Going for a walk was the right decision. This is it. This is the design. I went to rush home so I could quickly start drawing it up. At that moment, the daughter turned around, and our eyes met. The little girl turned around. Her expression looked somewhat sad. I wondered why that girl's expression didn't seem happy, but more like she was pleading for something. That was how she looked. But at the time my head was full of the design, so I didn't think much of it as I left. A few days later, and with my big job finished, I was able to take a breather, so I drank some coffee on the bench in the park. Then, I overheard some people talking. I was so surprised that I spilt my coffee. Two people standing and talking. Every now and then I heard the word lethal weapon. Hey, did you hear about that incident? I did. A girl that lived around here was kidnapped, and they just found her body, right? Yeah, that. Apparently, the criminal and the girl walked right through this park. When the photos came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone said the same thing, right? They looked just like a parent and child, holding hands as they walked. There are all sorts of urban legends regarding road signs, and this is one of the more famous ones. A male pulls the hand of a young girl who appears to be looking back and into the distance, like she doesn't want to go, the victim of a kidnapping. The Prime Minister of West Germany said as much in the 1970s, which kick-started the legend. Because of that, the German pedestrian sign was changed from a man and a child to a woman and a child. Because of the Vienna Convention on road signs and signals, the parent and child holding hands sign isn't used just in Japan, but all throughout Europe as well. At present, the government has confirmed there is no truth behind this particular urban legend. It's so late. The elementary school committee meeting ran late, and when I returned to the classroom, the sun was already gone. I was the only one there. The normally quiet school started to feel creepy. Right as I was about to hurry up, I realized I needed to use the toilet. I suddenly really needed to go. I didn't think I'd be able to wait until I got home, even if I ran. I ran to the closest toilets, the girls' toilets on the 3rd floor. When I opened the door, 2 of the stalls were free. Enter the first. I rushed into the toilet and sighed in relief. Phew! Thank God I made it in time. I quickly finished my business, washed my hands, and went to leave. When I looked into the mirror, I noticed something strange. A locked door. Is someone inside? I was in such a rush that I didn't notice, but I wonder, why was the door closed? There was no sound coming from it, but the door was definitely locked. Maybe it's someone from the next class who was also at the meeting. Thinking so, The locked door. Maybe I should check if someone is inside. I knocked. It seemed someone was inside. Relieved that someone was in there, I decided to call out. Is that you? Let's go home together. There was no response. It wasn't her? Embarrassed, I reached for the handle to leave. Huh? It won't open. The door always opened by pulling it, but neither pushing nor pulling worked. And the door didn't even have a lock either. This sudden strangeness reminded me of a story I'd heard. The story of Hanako-san that had been passed down at this school for years. Remembering the story, I nervously moved. The door someone locked. A rumor. Of course it was a rumor. I knocked 3 times and then called out. Hanako-san, is that you? There was no answer. Thinking the story had to be fake, I turned around when suddenly the furious banging on the door continued. It showed no signs of stopping. The lights suddenly went out and I panicked. I screamed and tried to leave, but the door still refused to budge. Please, let me out of here! All I could do was cry. Then, the banging on the door suddenly stopped. Turn around. The locked 3rd toilet door opened. I let out a silent scream. A girl with a bob haircut, white clothes, and red skirt looked at me from the toilet stall. Hey, let's play. Needless to say, there isn't a person in Japan who hasn't heard of Hanako-san. It's said the original urban legend started in the 1950s as Hanako-san from the third stall. The most popular version of the story says that if you knock 3 times each from the first door to the third door in the third floor toilets and then ask, "Hanako-san, are you there?" a voice will reply, "Yes." Then, when you open the door, a girl with a bob haircut and red skirt will pull you into the toilet. There are various versions of this story depending on the prefecture. From the Edo period to the early Showa period, faith in the toilet god was strong, and people often decorated their toilets with red and white dolls and beautiful flowers. It's thought that fake flowers decorating toilets are a remnant of this practice, and also the origins of Hanako-san's red and white clothes, as well as her name. On a beautiful starry night, I was walking near my apartment building, looking up at the sky, when I saw something even more beautiful. What did I find? A woman looking at the starry sky. So this is what love at first sight means. Her beautiful white profile continued staring at the stars. She was looking at the stars the next day as well. She was focused on the one spot, so I followed her gaze and saw a famous constellation shining. The constellation Orion. The stars sat in the south of the winter sky. She was looking at the constellation Orion. Even now when I look at it in the winter sky, I remember her. The next day, and the day after that, I saw her looking at Orion as I returned home. It felt like we were sharing a special, peaceful time together. And today, again, she was looking at the stars from near her window. But something was strange, because today, the cloudy sky. It was so cloudy that you couldn't see any stars. It was cloudy today, and you couldn't see any stars. So, what on earth was she looking at? Today, in complete contrast to yesterday's cloudy sky, was full of stars. But for me, something was missing. What was missing? She's not there. I feel somewhat sad. She wasn't by her window. The next day, and the day after that, she wasn't there either. After that, I never saw her again. Did she move, or was she tired of looking at the sky? Being immature at the time, I wasn't able to go and find out why. Would anything have changed if I had worked up the courage to visit her? I still keep memories of her and the shallow love I felt for her in my heart. This is a rare urban legend that mixes creepiness and sadness. This legend is also called The Woman Looking at Orion, and is said to have originated in Tsukuba City, Ibaraki Prefecture. There are numerous versions of it, with one of the most common being the man seeing the girl's ghost before her funeral is over. A story was filmed for TV where a young girl suffering from cancer looked up at Orion each night, smiling as she took her last breath. For as long as I could remember, there was something I looked after dearly. But one day, when we were moving house, I threw it away. What did I throw away? A girl holding a doll. A photo from when I was younger. The doll is what I treasured most. Maybe because I had grown up, I lost interest in the doll I had cared for so much. It was old and dirty, and although I hesitated, what else could I do? One night, after getting home late from work, that sound filled the room. The receiver. A call at this time? Who on earth could it be? I'm Mary-san. I'm in the garbage now. Thinking it was just a prank call, I hung up without saying a word. I had barely hung it up when that sound filled the room again. The receiver. How annoying. If it was the same person, I'd give them a piece of my mind. I'm Mary-san. I'm on the corner of the smoke shop now. True, there's a smoke shop close to my apartment, but no way. Even if it was a joke, it was a little too close to home. Creeped out, I left the receiver off the hook. The voice continued. The receiver. What on earth was with this person? I'm Mary-san. I'm in front of your house now. The moment I heard those words, I could sense something on the other side of the door. I was so terrified that the phone line, and now they wouldn't be able to call me anymore. At that moment. Why? I cut the phone line. I heard the voice in my ears as well. I'm Mary-san. I'm right behind you now. Anecdotes and the origin of this urban legend are a complete mystery. It's unknown who and for what reason this story was spread. It's also never mentioned what happens after I'm right behind you now, so this is a legend that invites even more fear. Chainmail became all the rage with display phones, and there were many that resembled this story of Mary-san exactly. So it was around this time that it spread. There's a famous rumor at my elementary school. It's a rumor of a woman they call the Masked Woman, who has recently started cutting people near our school. How stupid. There's no way a yokai like that could exist. I didn't believe the rumors. I mean, there was no news of any victims at all. It was nothing more than a rumor people had made up. As I was on my way home from school, I noticed something unfamiliar amongst the usual scenery. What was the strange feeling I felt? A mysterious shadow. The shadow clearly wasn't that of a telephone pole. What was it? It was a strange shape for a shadow. A person's shadow? But why were they hiding behind the pole? The moment I thought it, my face twitched. They say that the masked woman only appears before you if you're alone. Apparently, she hides in the shadows. I stayed behind at school today for cleaning. Thanks to that, the sky was already turning orange. And I was alone. No way. I tried to convince myself, but my feet wouldn't move. Time wouldn't wait for me. She stepped out from behind the pole. She stepped out. A woman in a red coat. She was wearing a long red coat and... was that a mask? The rumors were true. She wore a long red coat and a mask that covered half her face. No doubt about it, it was the masked woman. She slowly walked towards me. Why? Why was this happening to me? I had to run. I had to get away from there. Quickly. The masked woman's feet stopped right in front of me. Then she spoke to me through her mask. Hey, am I pretty? You're scary. The masked woman reached for her mask. I was shocked. Her mouth was cut from ear to ear. I couldn't say it was the appearance of a normal person. The woman with the slit mouth paid my reaction no attention and continued speaking. Hey, am I still pretty? Even like this? Monster! Hearing my answer, the woman cut my mouth with the long scissors she'd been hiding. My screams mixed with her high-pitched laughter. An elementary school student was on the way home when a woman in a long coat, despite it being summer, approached them from the opposing side, a large mask suspiciously covering her face. As they passed each other, she asked, Hey, am I pretty? Yes, you're very pretty, the student said. Even now? She asked, ripping off her mask to show her mouth slit from ear to ear. The student ran in fear, but the woman chased them with incredible speed. According to the rumors, she can reach 100 kilometers an hour, and quickly caught up and slashed their mouth with a sickle. From spring to the summer of 1979, fear gripped elementary and junior high school students nationwide. Police patrolled the streets, and children returned home in groups, And this urban legend that everybody has heard of even managed to change society. A copycat even emerged on June 21st of the same year. Nobody was hurt. This legend originates from Gifu Prefecture. This farming village looks just like a painting, with numerous fields, rivers, and farmhouses dotting the landscape. I ate ice cream outside with another girl, although I have few friends my age here. As the cicadas in the trees by the garden cried, she suddenly said, "What's that white thing?" The white thing she was speaking of? A blackened pile of salt. The salt had turned black. I heard somewhere before that wasn't a good sign. I told the girl what my grandfather had told me long ago. A pile of salt? First time I've heard of that. But is it okay now? It's black. Ah, the sky's changing colour. I've got to get home. With that, she smiled and waved and ran off home. But is it okay? It's black. Those words brought back what my grandfather had told me long ago. If the pile of salt starts to turn black, you must replace it with new salt. With that in the back of my mind, I noticed something strange before me. What did I notice? A mysterious woman. A woman wearing a wide-brimmed white hat and taller than the stone fence. On the other side of the 2-meter stone fence, a woman in a white hat bobbed to and fro. She was a woman, right? But she was a bit too tall to be a woman. Seeing that before me, I grew anxious. It got closer and closer. The cicadas seemed to cry even louder because of it. Even though I knew, even though I should have known better, for some reason, I couldn't move. Thinking back on it later, I knew I should have put it back in its place first. What should I have put back? The fallen Ojizo-sama. The Ojizo-sama that had been placed there to stop evil things from approaching had, at some point, fallen over. Po. Po po. I heard the sound clearly. Countless beads of sweat dripped off me in fear. The only thing I could close was my eyes, and all I could do was pray that it would pass by. The sound stopped. But still I couldn't check to see if it was gone and kept my eyes closed. "What are you doing? Dinner's ready." The moment I heard that voice, I was wrapped in relief. Ah, it's Grandma's voice. I was saved. It was gone. Open your eyes. Good evening. At a height of Hasshaku, or 240 centimeters, that is the reason they call this female ghost Hasshaku-sama. She wears a white dress and makes a po 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 sound. She can also imitate the voices of family members to lure her prey. Those who Hasshaku-sama takes a liking to are then spirited away somewhere. Her appearance can change depending on who is looking at her, and there are numerous variations such as a young woman, a middle-aged woman, or even an old woman. Yet, all stories of her have the same 4 points in common: her height, her voice, the fact that she wears something on her head, and all of her victims are young boys who've yet to come of age, especially children. The only way to deal with her is with piles of salt or charms covered liberally in a sealed room in which one must spend the night. She will be unable to enter. It's also possible to trap her by placing Jizo statues at all 4 corners of the village, so she'll be unable to follow her victim out. If even one of these methods fails, then they will become ineffective. Today's dinner was very tasty. There was a lot of my favorite Hamburg steak and fried chicken. Papa and Mama were in a very good mood. I wonder if something good happened. Mama's belly. Did she get fat? They said I'm going to get a younger sister. I'm so happy. Mama's belly has gotten bigger than before. Papa said I'm going to be an older sister, so I have to grow up now. All they think about is Mama's belly. Even though I'm right here. Me, looking at them from far away. Babies are cute. It can't be helped. Neither Mama nor Papa looked at me even once today. Mama got mad. She isn't the kind Mama I always knew. This sort of thing has happened lots of times before, but this time she got mad. A spilt cup. I knocked the water over with my hand. Where did my beloved Mama go? Papa got mad too. You're going to be a big sister, so you have to grow up, he said. I hate him. You're the one who's wrong. If only you didn't exist. Mama's belly. We don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need you. I hate everyone. Give me back my beloved Mama and Papa. Give them back. The baby in her belly. The baby in her belly. When will the baby in her belly come out? Ah, who cares? Everyone's changed. It's her fault. It's her fault. It's her fault. It's her fault. Mama looks like she's having trouble going down the stairs, so I'll help her. bleeding mama. She's holding her belly and looks to be in pain. Mama didn't move. There was red blood everywhere. Now everything will be okay. They'll love me, just like before. They'll look at me, right? Amongst all the numerous Japanese nursery rhymes, Kagome Kagome stands out as one of the particularly different ones. There are numerous explanations for what it means, ranging from the sad tale of a prostitute, the tale of a bullied child, to the buried Tokugawa gold. Yet the most powerful explanation is that of the miscarriage. Kagome Kagome, when will the bird in the cage come out? In the night of dawn, the crane and turtle slipped. Who is behind you now? These are the most famous lyrics, and this is the reason many claim the nursery rhyme speaks of a miscarriage. Kagome is a type of woven bamboo pattern, which in this case means inside one's stomach. Kagome can also refer to a caged woman, or here, the figure of a pregnant woman holding a cage, her belly. The bird inside the cage is the baby in her stomach. If we apply this to these lyrics, inside the belly, when will the baby inside the belly come out? After midnight, the mother and child go tumbling and the baby is miscarried. Who was the one who pushed her? It's often said that it's the mother who was pushed down the stairs after midnight and lost her child that sings these lyrics. Most nursery rhymes were made for children to sing after the end of the Taisho era. Surround the Oni in the middle and jeer. Can you pick who it is? When will you guess? You probably won't guess. Like a sliding crane or turtle, who do you think is behind you? When we hear these lyrics, they sound like a regular children's game. But for some reason, kids no longer sing this song. Perhaps that's just because of the passage of time, or maybe because of the urban legend. Finally, allow me to explain the truth behind this version of Kagome Kagome. The little girl's mother gets pregnant with her younger sister. The family is happy. The stressed pregnant mother gets angry at the girl's tiny mistakes. The girl's never-ending crying makes her mother even more stressed. The father, concerned about the mother, tries to gently soothe the girl. Yet, she mistakes this as him being angry at her. The girl then transfers her anger towards her little sister. The girl then pushes her mother down the stairs and kills her younger sister. I had a dream. Higanbana flowers surrounded a spring, and beyond it, I could see what looked like a village and a large higanbana. Just what you might expect from a dream, but it was so strange, a mysterious sight. And above the spring, I saw that. Girls wearing kimonos. 5 girls? Are they standing on top of the spring? Well, it's a dream, so anything's possible. A girl locked eyes with me and approached. Then she smiled and said, "This is the village where if you fall over, you'll die. Whatever you do, you mustn't fall over." If you fall over, you die? What did that even mean? To say such a thing so suddenly and openly, it made no sense. right as I thought that. Gah! I heard a scream from somewhere. The girl in front of me turned to look in the direction of the scream. A fallen girl. Hey, you just said you can't fall over here. One of the girls had fallen over. Her skin went bluish purple and a higambana grew from her body. The moment I laid eyes upon her strange corpse, what I'd just heard floated around in the back of my mind. This is the village where if you fall over, you'll die. Whatever you do, you mustn't fall over. Ah, she fell over. I warned her. But now that you've seen her, you understand, right? I grew scared. Ah, she died. Because what that girl said was true. Ah, because she was clumsy. The girl who fell was dead. That was true, but no. I saw something even more terrifying than that. The girls laughing at the dead girl. Are they for real? They were friends, weren't they? Even though the girl that had been with them just moments before had died, they were laughing. Why? They were mad. At any rate, I swore not to fall over until I woke from this crazy dream. It's easy if you think about it. I just have to not move from this spot. I won't do anything that might make me fall over. Thankfully, even though it was a dream, my body listened to me. Then I just had to wait to wake up. If I could do that, how easy would it be? That plan was cruelly destroyed. Hey, big guy, seeing as you're here, why don't you play with us? What do you want to play? Tag? Or leapfrog? So this was the power of language. For some reason, I answered the girl's invitation naturally. Tag, huh? You look like you'd be good at it. Well then, I'll be it. For some reason, I felt like, in this world, you had no choice but to go along with what they wanted. What else could I do? It would be fine, as long as I didn't fall over. I was worried, but all I could do was keep that in mind. I ran for my life. The girls appeared to be having fun, but I just ran for my life. That's why I don't remember much of it. All I remember is repeating to myself over and over, "Don't trip." Time's just about over now. I wanted to play some more. Don't be selfish. Hey, big guy, thanks for playing with us today. Thank God, I'd never felt more relieved in my life. And at the same time, lucky. Thanks to that, I'll come back again, I said. When the girls heard that, for a moment they looked surprised, but then they all smiled. Next time you come here, we'll protect you. With those words, I woke up. What on earth was that dream? And were those girls really evil? Maybe they were just lonely and forever waiting for someone to play with them in that strange village. I don't think I'll ever forget what happened. My dream of the village where if you fall over, you'll die. And the last thing I saw, the girls' big smiles and their tears. This is called a common dream that most people will have throughout their life at least once. Most people forget their dreams once they wake up, but there are certain things in common regarding this dream of a village where if you fall over, you'll die. The progression of the dream can differ, and people have spoken of the girls running around, being forced to play leapfrog, or waking up suddenly from the dream. But strangely, there's not a single person who's had the dream that has said they've fallen over. Thinking about it, that's natural. If you fall over, you die. Perhaps those who have died in their sleep were having this dream and then they fell over. It's said that this urban legend comes from the fairy tale, 3 Year Pass. Recently, several people have spoken of waking up from a dream and a series of good things happening to them. The one thing they all have in common is that they claim to have played with the girls and not feared falling over. Perhaps the dream also holds that implication as well. Once again, today's work meeting went on for too long, and I was on the final train home. Perhaps because of the time, I could count the passengers on one hand. It was a sight I'd grown used to. I grew sleepy, perhaps because of the exhaustion from work. I had the next day off, but of course I couldn't sleep past my station, so I did my best to stay awake. Then, suddenly, I felt something. What did I feel? A passenger staring right at me. Why was she looking at me? There was a single woman sitting at the end of the opposing chair. She'd been looking at me the whole time. She creeped me out, so I looked away and pretended to sleep. And perhaps because of that, I actually did fall into a deep sleep. Huh! When I woke up, I was all alone. Crap. Guess I was no match for the Sandman. I didn't know how long I'd slept for, but at the very least, I had to have missed my station. I took my phone out of my pocket to check the time. The time on my phone. The train was still running. Huh? Is the time on my phone broken? Of course I'd think that. It said 3:44. The train should have reached the last stop long ago, but either way, it shouldn't have been moving. Ah, am I still dreaming? That was what I thought. That was what I hoped. It troubled me, but this was the train. There wasn't anything I could do inside it, so I just played with my phone. It doesn't appear to be broken. Suddenly, the train doors opened. I'd been so wrapped up in my phone that I didn't notice the train had stopped. I should get out and call a taxi. I got out at some station I'd never seen before. The train continued on. It seemed I was the only passenger. There was nobody else around. At any rate, I should check where I am first. A sign I could barely read. Is this the station name? Kisaragi Station? The sign was covered in rust, and I could barely read it. I'd never seen nor heard that name before. I looked around, but it was too dark to see anything. Was it an unmanned station? There were no staff around. But that wasn't all. I couldn't sense any people at all. Where am I? At any rate, I did the only thing I could. Thankfully, I still had reception. I called my friend. Hello? It went through. It went through, but the other end was silent. Hello? Hey, can you hear me? I screamed, but it was in vain, and the phone hung up. Next, I opened the GPS so I could see where I was, but it refused to move on from the searching screen. It's no good. I've tried everything. Then I decided and made my move. The ticket gate. At any rate, I should try to leave this place. This was all I could do. Straight ahead was pitch black, and I couldn't see anything. But it was the only thing left I could do. I jumped over the stuck gate. A world wrapped in darkness spread out before me, an unbelievable sight. I fell to my knees, drowning in hopelessness. What have I done? All I could do was cry. A person appeared before me. Who are you? It's rare to see a passenger here. What on earth happened? It was so sudden that I couldn't speak. I just looked at the old man with one leg. He noticed something and then gestured to me, saying, "I see. How sad. You got lost. But it's okay. If you can see me, then that means this world has not invited you. Go. Run towards that light over there." I followed his gaze, and a ray of light appeared. I didn't say a thing. I just ran towards the light like he said. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I jumped up at the voice. Seemed I was sleeping on the train, and we'd reached the final station. It was the station I always got off at, and there were lots of people around me. Unable to gather my thoughts, I checked my phone. June 30th, 2011. 7 years had passed. This urban legend took the net by storm in 2004, and today it's popular enough that even those who don't know urban legends very well still know its name. The story started when poster Hasumi disappeared in 2004 after getting lost in Kisaragi Station, and then reappeared 7 years later in 2011 with the same ID. Since then, 3 people claim to have reached Kisaragi Station with similar stories. All of them returned. It's said that the station after Kisaragi is Katasu, and the station before it is Yomi. Katasu comes from Nenokatsu, meaning the netherworld, while Yomi means the underworld. Both of them are worlds after death, and the kanji used for Kisaragi are the same for the month February. It's believed this is derived from the same word meaning rebirth, so if we put them together, it means to be reborn. To sum up, that means the train runs from Yomi Station to Kisaragi Station to Katasu Station. From this, and from the claims of those who have returned, that means there's a good chance the last stop is where you pass through to the world of the dead. Something all those who have returned have in common is an old man with one leg helped them as well. Some believe the true form of this man could be a one-legged god, or Ebisu-sama. From this, it's believed that Kisaragi Station is the only point in the land of the dead from where you can return. In 2014, an unusual event took place on Google Maps where people looked for an imaginary route that could lead to Kisaragi Station. Thanks to this urban legend, it apparently inspired some people to become train conductors, and there are apparently still people who ask those working at the Enshu train line about Kisaragi Station. I'm a police officer. An incident occurred where a young girl went out to play by herself and never returned. The investigation faced numerous difficulties, and there was no information on where the girl might have gone. I questioned the residents in the nearby area, but nobody had seen the girl the day she disappeared. And thanks to that, the mystery deepened even further. How could nobody have seen her the day she disappeared? What on earth is going on? I got lost in thoughts on the roof of the girl's apartment building. It's been a month since she went missing. It's strange that we haven't dug up any information yet. At that moment, some letters caught my eye. The water tank. It's the type of tank you can see anywhere. It's rare for a building to have a rooftop water tank these days. With that on my mind, another day passed without any progress. I visited the apartment where the incident happened again today. Now that I'm here, what am I gonna do? Troubled, I searched the apartment from head to toe. Then, I went up to the roof. Come to think of it, did I investigate this roof? Maybe I had. But I wanted something, anything, to get this investigation going. I checked every square inch of the roof. Nothing especially stands out. We had no strong information. It wasn't such an easy thing to dig up. All that's left is that. Finally, my eyes landed on the water tank. First, I did a lap around it. What's this? A mark on the water tank's surface. It doesn't look like it's just rust. Is this some type of scratch? Normally, I wouldn't imagine something like this would have anything to do with the case. But with things being as they were, I took a photo of the mark and put the rooftop behind me. I came to the rooftop again today, but I feel different today to usual. It's been 3 months since the girl disappeared. That mark I discovered yesterday. My colleague made fun of me, but my feelings haven't changed. This has to have something to do with the case. Looking in from the outside, I no doubt looked like a weirdo hanging around, but I checked every single part of the water tank. Ah, so there's nothing here either, huh? Before I knew it, the sunset had painted the sky. Maybe I made too much of it. No, there is absolutely something here. I refused to give up and went back to the roof. Then... Ah! Are you a detective by any chance? A boy of about university age called out, perhaps one of the building's residents. He'd probably just gotten back from buying dinner. Shopping bags hung from both his hands. That's right. I'm investigating the girl from this building. Ah, so they haven't solved that yet. I'm terribly sorry. You residents must be terribly worried. It can't be helped. I hope you find her. That girl. Me too. Then, as we spoke, ah, that's right. There was something I wanted to ask you. He started speaking as though he'd just remembered something. I enjoy cooking at home. About 2 weeks ago, maybe, the water from the pipes started to smell. And recently, it's started getting even worse. The water from the pipes? Ah, detective. I ignored the man as he tried to stop me and ran straight for it. I saw it. The water tank. I didn't even think of it. No, I didn't want to think of it. No way. That couldn't be it. All I could do was pray. Pray that the image in my mind was wrong. Did something happen? I'll tell you later, but first, open this manhole. I called the water tank contractor and asked him to take the lid off. He looked at me confused, but he quickly got to work. I contacted headquarters while I waited. It's ready to be opened. The moment I heard that, I climbed on top of the tank as well. Well then, shall we open it? The contractor opened the manhole. Then, the moment it cracked ajar. Ugh! It stinks! What is that smell? The contractor couldn't hide his surprise at the stench. The smell was so strong I almost threw up. Nobody saw her up here, so there was nobody to notice. With trembling hands, I reached out for it. A bag floating in the water. She was in here. Floating in the water was the girl's bag. We finally found you. Thank you very much for all your hard work. The girl's parents cried as they thanked me. It must have been painful. Even I, an outsider, thought so. Their pain must have known no end. The tragic appearance of their retreating figures is still burned into my memory. It wasn't a kidnapping, nor a murder. The girl slipped away from her parents onto the roof and then fell into the open water tank. Her decaying body had been found inside it. But why had the lid been open? that mystery still hasn't been solved. With this urban legend, the incident itself is terrifying, but the underlying fact that people were using the same water without realizing it is also terrifying, and why it's so famous. In reality, an incident like this happened in Japan in the past. However, recent technological advancements have seen water tanks installed underground that then pop up in each room, so they've disappeared from rooftops. This legend is said to be the basis for Suzuki Koji's short story Floating Water, which was made into the famous film Dark Water. Oh yeah, did you see the news yesterday? Ah, that weird serial killer case? Yeah. Apparently there was another murder yesterday, and the victim was someone from around here. Did you know? People are saying it's actually the work of a ghost. Yeah. You really love those types of supernatural stories, don't you? I returned home with 2 classmates as we chatted. That mysterious serial killer case. Someone had been killed recently at the railway crossing, and one of the characteristics of the body was that they'd been cut in half. It was too strange to have been done by a person, and not only had they not solved it yet, the case was surrounded with mystery. Apparently it had happened again yesterday evening. And for that reason, school ended early today. Our way home passed near where the incidents had happened. Honestly, it grossed me out. But I couldn't get home unless I passed through, so I unhappily did so. My friend walking in front of me suddenly stopped. Her eyes were focused on something ahead. Mysterious letters. A code? They didn't look like letters. What is this? Red and black letters like hieroglyphs had been drawn on the wall. Ah, this graffiti's been here for a while. Oh, really? Huh? Looks like something's been added to it since then. Maybe I'm just imagining it. My friend died. A victim of the serial killer. The last time we returned home together, she was laughing and happy. It seemed like a lie. School went nuts, with her funeral and the police coming around. Everything was crazy. It didn't seem real at all. And yet, a week later, everything returned to normal. See ya! I left for school again today. When I passed by that graffiti, I saw it. A mysterious letter. Huh? Is this new? Another letter had been added since the last time I saw it. I ignored it and continued past on my way to school. The 3 of us always took this road home. Now, it was 2. The air felt heavy and we didn't speak. Then we started down the usual road. Taking this road now feels depressing. I don't like it. Yeah, it does. The moment I said it. Teke. Did you say something? Huh? My friend seemed to have heard something, but I didn't. Teke. I heard it too. My friend turned around. Hey, what's that? I turned around as well, and then I saw it. A woman with both elbows on the ground. What was that? She had no legs? The moment I saw it, I knew. I felt it with all 5 senses. It wasn't of this world. That's not a person, right? I grabbed my friend's hand. We gotta run, quickly. I didn't know why, but my body moved of its own accord. Hey, wait! I heard a thud. I started running so suddenly that my friend fell over. She dragged me down like a weight with her. Ah! Sorry, are you okay? Look at friend. I went to stand up together, but the moment I went to grab my friend's arms, when I saw them, I screamed. At the end of the arms I'd grabbed was her upper torso. Only her upper torso. Half a year has passed since that incident. I always pass through that road where it happened alone. A police officer found me lying there unconscious next to my friend, who had been cut in half. After that, the police came to see me numerous times. Who was the criminal? Did I remember anything at all? They asked me the same questions every time. Honestly, it was annoying. Even if I did say it, they wouldn't believe me. That the serial killer wasn't of this world. I stopped and looked at it. The mysterious letters. And now, it's over. Teketeke. So it was you after all, huh? I muttered as I looked at the letters. That's right. I knew. I knew who the serial killer was from the beginning. Teketeke was the killer. No, that's not right. The killer was me. That's why I'm still here, still alive. In the end, my friend took my place for me. This is one of the most popular urban legends in Japan, passed from person to person. She's so famous that even movies have been made about her. A female high school student was hit by a train in Hokkaido and cut in half, but it was so cold that her blood vessels froze and she didn't die. Help me, she pleaded to those around her, but the firefighter who had come to help was so shocked he couldn't move. At the station employee's decision, a blue sheet was placed over her, and she died beneath it. The girl from this story then became Teketeke. She crawls forward on her hands and elbows, and this sounds like teke, which is how she got her name. It varies from region to region how you deal with her, but the 2 most powerful ways are to chant, "Go to hell," or to tell 10 different people about Teketeke's legend. By the way, there's another legend that claims Sachan from the famous fairy tale has numerous points in common with Teketeke. I had a dream. It felt just like reality, but it was a dream. That was the one thing I was sure of. I was inside a regular old train. There were 3 passengers, including myself. I think we were inside a tunnel, because all I could see through the windows was a stone wall. But there was one thing that drew my attention. Posters and ads of a monkey. This creepy monkey was packed everywhere. Why are there posters and ads of a monkey face? Looking closer, the other passengers were a little odd too. Everyone seemed to have eyes that looked like that of a dead fish. Feeling the strangeness of the sights before me, I quietly sat as the train headed towards a destination I didn't know. Next up is live cutting. Live cutting. Suddenly a mysterious announcement played. Live cutting? Like fish? Confused and lost in thought, something caught my eye. Something not of this world. What the hell was that? Just seeing it made me want to puke. Those things gathered around the man at the end of the train. After that, his screams echoed painfully, and the train stank of blood. Is this really a dream? I started to think, when suddenly another mysterious announcement played. Next up is gouging! Gouging! At the same time, 2 of those things appeared. They appeared to locate their prey, and they moved towards their goal. The 2 of them went to the woman sitting next to me. Their next goal was her? The 2 things approached the woman and moved towards her eyes with something like a fork. I froze in fear. The woman next to me screamed loud enough to blow my eardrums, and I could again smell blood. Next up is minced meat. Minced meat. Oh no. Going in order, I was third. I was next. Judging by the announcement, I could imagine what was going to happen. They jumped up on my knees. As I expected, I heard machinery start. The things cackled. Wake up, wake up, wake up! The sound that gripped me with fear suddenly stopped. Working up the courage, I slowly opened my eyes, and that thing was there, as though frozen in time. I didn't know what had happened. I was still in the train. I hadn't woken up from the dream. So then, why? Next thing I knew, that thing was gone as well. A phone. Why here? I picked up the fallen phone and answered. It was the same voice from the announcements. Oh my! It would seem that it's not quite your time yet. What a pity. But, the next time you get on this train will be the last time. With those words, I woke up. I haven't had that same dream again since, but the fear that was born of it still grips me, even now. Praying that I wouldn't hear that announcement, I fell asleep again today. Next up to ride this train from start to finish is you, over there. This famous urban legend that inspires fear sees people getting on a train and dying one by one in unique ways, and it's said that those who hear of the story will soon join it. It's said to have been based off lucid dreaming. It's generally believed that Monkey Dream is based off of trains at zoos that are manned by monkeys. But in reality, it was named so because of the posters in the train that are of a monkey. According to dream divination, a monkey appearing in your dreams is bad luck, and a warning that people may betray you or your trust. If you are dreaming and see something that reminds you of the monkey dream, try to prepare yourself immediately. Nice to meet you. My name is... Before you read through this story, there's something I have to tell you first. It's very important, so please think about it carefully. Kotoribako. This is a terrifying curse. It's so powerful that it may affect you even just reading it, although effects vary from person to person. Are you a woman? Are you a small child? Even if you're a man, are there small children around you? If one of these applies to you, close this page right away. The effects are terrible, so if you're going to turn back, do so now. I've warned you. Read. This is what you've chosen, so I have nothing more to say on the matter. However, if something bad happens to you because you read this story, I can't help you. It will be too late by then, you know. Well then, let's enjoy the story. I heard this story from my grandmother. It was about a box our family had under our care for generations. One of my ancestors met a certain man long ago. As soon as they met, he said the following: "I'm being chased by a group of people. Please hide me." It's troubling to hear something like that so suddenly. Then the man continued, "Do you want a weapon to kill your enemies, those you hate, those you don't like? If you hide me, I'll teach you how to build that weapon." At the time, the country was being reborn in the Bolshevik War, what they called Japan's final war, and the Satsuma Rebellion was taking place. If he could receive a weapon such as that for free, well, that was a different story. Accept his offer. You're a very smart man. Allow me to say thank you. The man deeply bowed his head. For a moment, he saw him smile. The man brought out a box and then said, "This is a cursed box. The curse is so strong that you merely have to show it to someone for it to work. After being cursed, that person will die in great pain. Of course, there's no way to break the curse either." It was an unbelievable story. So, it was a curse. He debated what to do, but he'd already helped the man hide, so there was no reason to refuse him now. "Relax. This box in my hands right now isn't yet finished. I'm about to finish it now. Then I will give it to you. Let me tell you how it's made. To thank you for hiding me, I won't take any money." Accept his offer. "You really are a smart man. Well then, let's get to work right away." For a moment, the devil danced over the world. "And that is this box," my grandmother said, and put the box on the table. It was big enough for an adult to just be able to hold. It was a creepy piece of workmanship. It no longer works, so you can look at it and touch it no problem. Of course, you can't open it, however. This was a cursed box. It's called the Kotoribako, the box that steals children. Over the generations, it's not the box itself that our family has passed down, but rather how to make one. Well, to be honest, that time has passed now. The method has been long sealed. She wouldn't tell me anything more than that. A few years later, she passed away. The last thing she said was, "I will take the scroll that details how to make that box with me to the other side." Yet I knew how to do it. I saw how to make it. And there isn't just one Kotoribako. Now I regret it. Ever since I saw that scroll, something has been talking directly to my mind. It's too late. I sense that now. I hope you don't walk down the same path I did. If there's something you want, you'll lose something in equal proportion. You can still turn back. Please. Do you want to hear how to make a Kotoribako? Yes. Oh my, we meet again. We've met somewhere before. Quit playing around. At the very least, you've met me, right? Anyway, putting that aside for now. If you've made it this far, it means... I'm terribly sorry. It appears I wasn't mistaken calling out to you. You are indeed very smart. You wanted to ask how to make the box, right? Wonderful. I'm so happy. I didn't think there was anybody left. Well then, let me teach you how to make the most terrifying curse of all, the Kotoribako. 1. First you must make a wooden box that pieces together. 2. Next, inside that box, you must fill it with the blood of a female beast and leave it for 1 week. 3. Then, you must put the lid on before the blood dries. During this time, you make the insides. 4. Put in the body parts of a culled child. Of a child just born, the umbilical cord, the tip of their pointer finger, and blood wrung from the intestines. Of a child under 7, the tip of their finger and the blood wrung from their intestines. Of a child under 10, the tip of the finger. 5. Then close the lid. The name of the box changes depending on how many children were sacrificed for it. Of course, the more children were culled, the more powerful the box will be. 1 child, ippo. 2, niho. 3, sampo. 4, shippo. 5, goho. 6, roppo. 7, chippo. 8, hakkai. How was it? Did you get what you were looking for? I'm looking forward to it. To the time you unleash the Kotoribako on the world. Finally, there is only one rule you must follow. You must never make a hakkai. Why? Of course, not even I can tell you that. This name is written using the characters for child and to take something. This story is famous for its high-quality writing, the strangeness of the box's construction and name, and the terrifying truth behind it. It is, in reality, a curse. Kotoribako is said to come from Shimane Prefecture, and it looks just like a puzzle box, but isn't quite so easy to open. It affects women who are able to give birth, and children, destroying their insides and finally killing them. By killing the women and children, it will eradicate the family bloodline. It all started in a small village in the 1860s to 1880s. The villagers suffered terrible persecution, and so, to threaten those pressuring them, the Kotoribako was born. Yet they didn't just stop at those threatening them, and there were cases where they were sent to people that they didn't like, and their entire family was wiped out. Recently, some have claimed this story originated from the Atamina legend, a cursed vase. Even now, people claim that after reading the story they feel sick, their stomach starts to hurt, or someone who lives with them falls ill. The roof of my elementary school was locked, although it might be better to say that the stairs leading to the rooftop were locked instead. But even that wasn't normal, and it was locked with dozens of padlocks. To go up, you had to undo the chains one by one, and then unlock all the padlocks as well. It was impossible. That's why I could never go even out of curiosity. But there was a bad story passed down about those stairs leading to the roof. There were apparently 13 steps in total, but if you happened to step on the 13th one, you would be dragged into the world of the dead. Apparently at some point, people started calling this story the 13 Stairs. After class finished, my friend called me over. "Tonight, let's sneak into the school and check out the stairs." To be honest, I wanted to see them too. I nodded right away. We all gathered in front of the school around 11 p.m. We managed to get in, huh? The school seemed so different at night. There were 4 of us, including myself, doing what seemed like a test of courage. We entered the school through a window we'd left open earlier. Wow, this place is so different at night. We made our way to the 13 stairs. They were even scarier than usual. "It's too dark to see anything. You brought a torch, right?" "Leave it to me." One of my friends then shone a light towards the stairs. We looked over, and everyone froze. The iron bars were open. There were so many chains, so how was it open? Who on earth? Hey, why is it open? The iron bar door that had been closed so tightly with chains was open. It was like it was inviting us in. What? This is bad, don't you think? We'd better go home. It was so shocking that nobody could hide their surprise. Of course they couldn't. According to the story, the door hadn't been opened for decades, yet there it was, open, right before us. What are you saying? I don't know who did it, but this is our chance, right? No, but it really was our chance. We might be able to solve the mystery of the 13 stairs that nobody else knew. That chance was right in front of us. We'd reach it if we threw away our fears and stepped forward. I'm going. That's why we came here, right? Are you really gonna turn back now? A-kun said, and then started walking towards the stairs. At that moment, I noticed something. An old, mysterious flower vase. Why was that there? Did somebody die here? Was that a vase? There was a flower in it, but how long had it been there? It had no petals, and the stem had turned brown. A-kun passed through the iron bars. Is he really going? Is he really going to be okay? We just watched him from the bottom as he climbed. He went up the stairs, one by one. Hey, are you guys still there? Listen, I'm on the 12th step, but there's no 13th. A-kun said and kept going. Ah, it's no good. The keyhole up here is filled in with concrete or something. There's a round black circle or something on the door. That's it. Then he came back down the stairs at the same pace he'd gone up. How was it? Disappointing. There wasn't even a 13th step. Guess it was just a story after all. Let's get out of here before someone finds us, A-kun said triumphantly and laughed as he started walking. We got out of the school without anyone seeing us, and then went our separate ways from the nearby park. But something had been bothering me the whole time. Something wasn't right. I'm on the 12th step, but there's no 13th. Something was strange. I tried to figure it out. When it comes to stairs, you count until you reach the landing, right? At that very moment, my doubt turned to conviction. He was wrong. The story was true. There really were 13 stairs. A-kun had counted wrong. But everyone had already gone home. I went home myself, thinking I could tell him about it the next day. At full school assembly the next morning, we heard A-kun had been found dead in his own room, hung. But nobody said anything in particular to those of us who had gone to the stairs the night before. Confused, we went to see them again. What does this mean? Everyone said together when we saw it. The door tightly locked with chains, but yesterday it had been open. It's gone back to normal. What did we see yesterday? Yeah, the door that had been opened yesterday had gone back to normal. If a teacher had fixed it, then they likely would have said something at the morning assembly. That story was true? No, but A-kun said there wasn't a 13th step. About that, I readied myself and spoke. A-kun counted wrong. The top step was the 13th. I looked it up yesterday. That black stain he talked about, it might be something called the Black Sun. It means death and demise. Just about everybody's likely heard of this one, and it's one of the most famous school urban legends. At first, it was called Fear and Stairs, but at some point its name changed to 13 Stairs. The stairs with 12 steps will have 13 at night, and there will be a rope hanging from the ceiling to hang yourself with. Once you step on the 13th step, you will be dragged to the other side. There are all sorts of variations on this tale. Apparently, prisoners on death row walk up 13 steps on their way to the gallows, and in the West, 13 is considered to be an unlucky number. It's believed this is how the urban legend was originally born. In reality, people often recommend you avoid building stairs with 13 steps inside your house as well. I'm a kindergarten teacher. There's a graveyard near our school, but it's surrounded by an iron fence so the children can't enter. Recently, it's not uncommon to find bugs and lizards skewered on top of the fence. The kindergarten, which also functions as a temple, saw a lot of people coming and going, and because elementary students often played in the playground as well, nobody knew who could be doing it. Although, it could have just been the work of a bird as well, so nobody paid it much attention. But then one day, something was skewered that we couldn't ignore. A rabbit. Who could do such a thing? It was the rabbit we kept at the kindergarten. When the monk went to clean the graves in the morning, it apparently wasn't there. I asked one of the kids who often arrived earlier than me if they'd seen anything. They said only one word in response. Hisaruki. I asked what that was, but they couldn't explain it very well. I asked the other kids about it later, and they all knew this Hisaruki, but nobody could explain what it was. The next day, I set out for work earlier than usual. What had happened the day before? Was it really an accident? With that on my mind, I arrived at the kindergarten. And there, I saw it. A child standing before the fence. This kid wasn't one of ours. The child stood naked in front of the fence. Even from the side, something was clearly wrong. What are you doing? The child slowly turned. His head only. I froze on the spot. His head was turned to face me, and his mouth was covered in blood. Then I was certain. This was Hisaruki. What did I see that made me think that? A cat's head. Just a head? No way. Was that the reason for all the blood around the child's mouth? The moment I thought it, the child I thought to be Hisaruki ran off. My memories cut off there. Sensei, are you okay? When I came back to, I was surrounded by kids. It seemed I had passed out. My memories were vague. Sorry for worrying you. I'm okay. I got up, and when I turned to look at the children, my vague memories all came back at once, and a chill ran down my spine. A mysterious child. This kid? No way. He changed into one of our students? Everyone, step away from that boy! It was clearly him. I didn't know whether he intended to disguise as one of our kids or not, but I knew it was him right away. Sensei, what's wrong? Why are you surprised? That boy is Hisaruki. You all know it, right? What are you saying? Hisaruki's behind you right now. This urban legend is still surrounded in mystery. There's all sorts of information about Hisaruki, even now, but ultimately, nobody knows what it really is. That's why this story is so famous in the urban legend world that there are few who haven't heard of it. Other than Hisaruki, it also has various names such as Kira-Kira-san, Mai-Mai, Isaruki, Hisaru, and more. But what's written about them all is terribly similar. This legend is believed to have originated from the story Atami. Recently, stories have been going around of an evil ghost called Hisayuki, so we may finally be getting closer to the truth. I work in construction. Today we were scheduled to demolish an old temple in Iwate Prefecture. As we were working, a colleague called me over. Hey, come and take a look at this, would you? Thinking there might have been a problem, I went over. Ah, you're here. What do you think this is? And what was there? A long, blackened box. It was really old. Honestly, it was creepy. What is this? We were demolishing a hidden room in the back of the main hall and found it. I'm gonna call the guy in charge. Stay here, would ya? It looked about 2 meters long, and the wood rotten. It seemed incredibly old. A white piece of paper was stuck to it. The characters were old and looked like Sanskrit, and the paper was a mess, so I couldn't read it. The only bit I could make out was Showa, year, July. With this spell, Ryoumen Sukuna is sealed. How creepy. I couldn't leave the area, so I walked around the box, looking at it. Ah, my bad. Sorry to keep you waiting. My colleague returned. The contractor said he'll contact the head monk tomorrow. The box was nailed shut, so it wasn't like it could open by itself, so we placed it in a nearby prefab building and finished the day's work. The next day, I got a call from the contractor before I got to work. About that wooden box from yesterday, the former chief monk got really angry and said not to open it. He's gonna come around and pick it up himself, so just leave it where it is, okay? So then, it was something dangerous. With that on my mind, I made my way towards the prefab building housing it. When I got there, the sight before me made the blood drain from my body. The lid, it was open? Hey, why is it open? Who opened it? A younger worker looked at me, surprised. Sorry, I wanted to know what was inside, so I opened it. More importantly, take a look, would ya? I felt it keenly. This was not something that was supposed to exist. It was the first time I felt fear like that, simply by looking at something. A strange mummy. What the hell? A human mummy? But there were two heads. It was a strange mummy with two heads, two arms on each side, and its hands crossed over its chest, as well as two normal legs. At first I thought it was fake Siamese twins, but it seemed too real. Who opened it? Which idiot? I suddenly heard an angry voice from behind me. It seemed to be the chief monk and his son hurrying over in their car. He was so angry that our minds suddenly went blank, and then he started at his son. I told you to send Ryoumen Sukuna-sama to the temple in Kyoto, did I not? You fool! You idiot! His son simply bowed his head over and over. It was just you few who saw him? I'm sorry, but your lives are now over. Huh? My colleague and I were speechless, just by looking at it. Well, it might be nothing more than a consolation, but what do you want to do? Shall I cleanse you anyway? Receive a cleansing. When we answered, he chanted for about 30 minutes for us, then strongly hit our backs and shoulders. When he was done, the monk put the wooden box into the car, then turned to my colleague and spoke. You saw Ryoumen Sukuna first, so it's already too late for you. I'm sorry, but your lives are now over. 3 years have passed since that day. Just like the monk said, my colleague who first opened the box has already passed away. They said his heart and lungs stopped working, but honestly, I don't know much more than that. Myself, I stood on a nail that required 5 stitches, but I'm still alive. Ryoumen Sukuna. Ever since that time, I've wanted to know more about that mummy, so I've investigated various things, but even now, I still don't know what it really is. One day, our company received a request to knock down a building, so I went around to check it out beforehand. When I got there, it was a temple secluded deep in the mountains. Honestly, I wanted to refuse the job. Memories of that day came flooding back with feelings I couldn't describe. We've been waiting for you. A sudden voice scared me, and an old man, around 80 years old, came out of the temple. Ah, nice to meet you. Are you the one who made the request? Yes. Thank you for coming all the way out into the mountains here. Something was odd. Maybe it was the atmosphere around him, but he didn't seem human. That was what I thought. Ryoumen Sukuna, you saw it with those eyes, did you not? My blood chilled at those sudden words, and my heart beat wildly. And then I said, I did, but... So it was you. Looking at you, it would seem it has already finished. Already finished? What was he saying? Part of you has now become Ryoumen Sukuna. This urban legend possesses such a powerful ability to curse that many of the disasters it has caused have been recorded by history, and it serves as a link to the present as well. This mummy was created by using kodoku magic by a strange human practitioner. Because it strongly resembles the creature Ryoumen Sukuna, it was also given that name. A heretic bought strange people from a show hut during the Taisho era in order to use them as tools to create a curse. He did so using kodoku magic. Ryoumen Sukuna was the result. This heretic, by the name of Mononobe Tengoku, travelled around Japan with the human mummy, and at each stop, a terrible disaster occurred. The following is a list of places Ryoumen Sukuna visited and the disasters that occurred. At present, there is no credibility to this list. In addition, there are some who feel that the character of Ryoumen Sukuna in the Nihon Shoki is the same as the Ryoumen Sukuna in this scary story, but they are completely separate beings. If this is a dream, then I want to wake up. We've just had a kid. I just started a family. I just bought a house. And so why? Why has life dragged me to the bottom like this? Today the company I worked for went bankrupt. Of course, starting today, I'm now unemployed. I walked down the dark night road, devoid of hope. Then I noticed something. A public phone. I haven't used one of these in a long time. A public phone. Come to think of it, there was a popular urban legend when I was a kid. The legend of Satoru-kun. The legend of Satoru-kun. You can call him by following a set of instructions. You ask him a question, anything at all, and he can answer it. Honestly, I didn't believe it at all. It was just a tale from when I was a kid. Life wasn't that simple. But still, considering the situation I found myself in, I was drawn to the phone and walked towards it. I wanted help. Anything, from anyone. I wanted something to help push me along. I took some change out of my wallet. Put in 10 yen. I put in 10 yen and dialed with a trembling hand. I dialed my own phone. And then I think you have to... Satoru-kun, Satoru-kun, please come here. Then I hung up. And then my phone should... Suddenly my phone rang. I don't know this number. I nervously answered. I'm Satoru. I'm behind you right now. Hey, are you for real? Was the legend of Satoru-kun really true? I regretted that I may have done something I couldn't take back, but all I could do was keep moving forward. Satoru-kun, I have a question for you. What's going to happen to me now? In 3 days, unable to stand your current situation, you will kill yourself. You know my current situation? With that I was convinced. He was the real deal. Satoru-kun, I have a question for you. What should I do now? I'll tell you the truth, honestly, without hiding anything. There is someone by your side who can help you. There is someone by your side who can help you. Was that so? Yeah, that's right. Why was I running away? I had a family. I had people waiting for me. Satoru-kun, thank you. I don't have any more questions. When I said that, he replied, sir. It sounded like he said something, but the time on the phone seemed to be up, and it hung up. I got another job and I'm now living my life without problem. No, it's even better than it was before. After that, I told my wife what happened, and she smiled and said we'd do our best together. I feel like my bond with my family has grown even stronger. I remembered what happened that time as I stood in front of the public phone. Satoru-kun, what on earth are you? Come to think of it, what was that last thing you said? As I thought that, I suddenly noticed something. A folded up piece of paper. I kind of want to know what's inside. I picked up the piece of paper and opened it. You, right now, are the answer. This famous urban legend has even been made into a movie. You put 10 yen into a public phone and call your own number. When you get through, you speak into the public phone and ask, Satoru-kun, Satoru-kun, please come here. Within 24 hours, he will call your phone. When you answer, Satoru-kun will tell you where he currently is. This will continue with him getting closer and closer until finally he's right behind you. At that time, you can ask him any question and he will answer. However, if you turn around or don't ask a question, Satoru-kun will steal you away. If you ask him a question you already know the answer to, he will also get mad. There are all sorts of rumors about who he really is, but the most common is that he's from the future. But there are still a lot of mysteries surrounding this legend, so nobody knows the truth behind it. He's often mistaken for Mary-san, but they are completely different legends. I visited a lodging deep in the mountains for a school club camp. The place was beautiful, and roughly 500 to 700 meters away there was a sightseeing hotel, convenience store, etc. Well, there wasn't much else around, but we were really excited. Then, that night. Bored, we got permission from the teacher in charge to go buy some things from the convenience store. 5 of us went outside and started walking, and because we hadn't been out there during the day, we didn't notice. But behind the camp lodgings, there was another building that looked like a house. The lights weren't on, so it was probably an empty residential house, or maybe a separate lodging. On the way back from the convenience store, one of the junior members suddenly said something strange. "Hey, the door to that building we passed before was slightly open. Did you guys see a kid peeking out?" "Huh? You're really gonna try and scare us with that?" We made fun of him, but he refuted us with a straight face, so we were kinda creeped out. "Then let's go check it out. We've got nothing else to do anyway," my friend said, so we all went over to the building. As we stood in front of it, it really was creepy. We couldn't tell from far away, but the walls were covered in moss and vines grew here and there. All of the windows were boarded up, and it appeared to have been left abandoned for quite some time. My friend casually knocked on the door, and then it opened. It opened. We were scared, but we were also kids. We all went inside. Once we were in, being summer, the place was extremely humid and stank of mold. It was dusty and stank, but the inside looked rather clean, and there was no furniture, so it was spacious as well. "Hey, it's that kid from before," the junior member suddenly whispered, and then we all saw it. Hey, seriously? A child peeking out from behind the door. Someone was here? You all see that, right? Is that a person? Shit, let's get the hell out of here. The being was looking right at us, although it didn't seem like it was going to attack. We all thought about running. Then the junior member suddenly burst out laughing, loud enough to echo throughout the entire house. Hey, what's wrong? Hey! Wondering what was wrong, we moved around to look at his face. Then we realized the deep situation we were in. He really was laughing strangely, but his face was expressionless, and large tears formed in his eyes. Plus something smelt bad. He'd wet himself. Hey, get it together, man! Shit, what the hell is going on? My friend slapped his cheeks and shook him, but it was like he couldn't see us at all, and he continued laughing while crying. We can't just leave him like this. We have to carry him back to camp. The calmest of us all said, and we all carried him back towards the front door. Then I realized something. The place where the child had been looking at us, it had disappeared. It was gone. That thing that hadn't taken its eyes off us until just before. It had disappeared at some point after we turned away. Where did it go? I thought. Hey, no way. Why? The door won't open. My friend screamed as he tried to open the door. We put the junior member down, and everyone tried tackling and forcing the door open. But it wouldn't budge. We panicked and looked at each other. Ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho. We heard a mechanical, toneless voice. The junior member started laughing and rolling around on the floor. We had to get out of there. Thinking if we could just break the window sash in the living room, we'd be able to get out, I told everyone as much, and we rushed over. When I suddenly saw it, I was speechless. A face looking at us from upstairs. When did it move? Ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho. Just above the landing on the stairs, a child's face peeked down at us. The moonlight shone behind it, so I couldn't see its expression, but judging by the size and hairstyle, it was the same child as before. Again, I heard the ho 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 voice. The owner of that voice seemed to be the child. But something was strange. Something felt wrong. I soon realized what. The child appeared to be leaning far out over the railing, but I could only see its head. It's extending its neck? Hey, what are you doing? Let's get out of here. My friend grabbed my arm and dragged me to the living room. For me, it seemed just a moment, but the other four had already carried the junior member into the living room, broken the window, and ripped out the boards while I stared upstairs. I didn't know what was going on, but we had to get out, so I helped them carry him outside. That same ho 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 voice continued inside the house. Are we out now? Huh? Hey, hang on. What's this? The front entrance. What on earth is this? We were outside. Or we should have been. We stood in front of the entrance again. No way. Hey, what's going on? We'd looped back around. Was this the child's work? We couldn't comprehend what was going on. Hey, that voice we heard before, has it stopped? My friend said, and everyone nodded when they noticed it too. Silence surrounded us. Hey, what should we do? I'm thinking. But no matter how much I thought, I couldn't find an answer. But I had to. We looked desperately around the area. Hey, what's that? Someone pointed, and we all looked that way. It couldn't be. That? A mysterious doll by the stairs. It wasn't there when we arrived. It was right in front of us, but nobody noticed it until someone said something. It was a creepy Japanese doll that clearly didn't suit the surroundings. Come to think of it, it looked just like that kid we'd seen earlier too. Then... Ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho. Suddenly something laughed. Shit, I can hear it again! It doesn't matter what you do, just destroy that doll. My friend ran over and attacked the doll as hard as he could. Well, perhaps he'd been right on the mark, because as soon as the doll broke, the laugh disappeared. Then, "Hey, the door opened!" At those words, we left without looking at anything else. Even now, we still don't know what that was. After that, we safely returned to the lodgings. The junior member was fine the next day, as though nothing had happened. But I still can't get what my friend said out of my head. When I broke that doll, there was something creepy written all over the inside of it. But there was just one thing that I could read. It said, Uzu Doll. This urban legend speaks to the fear of the unknown, of existences that can't be understood. It's officially recorded as Hyose, Uzu Doll. Hyose didn't appear in this particular story, but in reality it is a part of it. Hyose was originally a famous local yokai, but it rarely showed itself to people. It appeared to pregnant and infertile women on the roof of their houses and laughed, and when it did, they would have a safe birth or find themselves pregnant. It was an extremely good yokai, but for some unknown reason, several decades earlier, it had attacked and killed a child, meaning it was also a dangerous existence. Although it physically resembled this yokai and shared the same laugh, other details didn't match, and it became clear that this was the Uzu Doll. People still don't know what it really is. It's neither a ghost nor a yokai, but some say it's a type of cursed object. Inside it are the letters Kampo 2, the year 1743, as well as the artist's unreadable name, and the characters for Uzu Doll. This is how the story was born. By the way, some say that the famous Japanese yokai Rokuro Kubi was the model for the story of Uzu Doll. Where am I? I should have been asleep in my bed. When I opened my eyes, a mysterious countryside road spread out before me, the sunset dyeing the sky. This is a dream, right? Of course I'd think that way. Before me there was something that just didn't fit the scene. A Daruma. How was I supposed to respond to that? What dream is this? I was just confused about the whole situation. Daruma. A Daruma that everyone would have seen at least once in their lifetime. What is this? What am I seeing? We stared at each other for a long time, and nothing changed. We stared at each other so hard my eyes got itchy and dry. Then I noticed something strange. The Daruma. It moved? Was I imagining it? It seemed like the Daruma was closer than before. I'm not imagining it, right? It was certainly different to before. Nothing had changed until now. I was reacting to even the slightest changes. Maybe I should test it. I closed my eyes. Then I opened them. Ugh! The Daruma had gotten even closer. When I looked away, it used that opportunity to get closer. Is this thing alive? Tip it over. The Daruma did nothing but tip over onto its side. Then, its face turned angry. What the hell? The sudden happening surprised me and I fell back. Judging by the atmosphere here, I have a bad feeling about this. So it really is a monster? It screamed and raged like a dog giving a war cry. Can he really not get back up? The Daruma writhed in pain, but didn't make any moves to attack. No, maybe it would be better to say it couldn't. Push it far away. I pushed the Daruma further away. It screamed as it rolled into the distance. I just watched it go. Next thing I knew, I was awake. In the end, just what was that dream? Even now, I still don't know. There's an urban legend that states if you dream about a Daruma, it means you will die soon. But it depends on what role the Daruma takes in your dream. If it just appears as a decoration, then there's no problem. But if it takes on a main role, like setting out on an adventure, or it appears as an enemy, then that means you will die before long. The only way to deal with this Daruma is to roll it onto its side, so that this won't come to pass. I was left behind to finish cleaning after school. Well, it was my own fault for forgetting my homework. I wanted to finish quickly, so I could go home and play games. Ugh, it's pouring outside. It was raining buckets. My mood went down with it. Today has been the worst day ever. The rain showed no signs of letting up. And perhaps thanks to that, nobody else was around. I made my way home on the usual route. Home always seems so far away when it rains, I muttered to myself, but then I suddenly stopped in my tracks. What's that? What did I see? A woman walking in the distance. In this rain? Is that a woman? But something was strange. I could very clearly see that, even from a distance. The woman wasn't holding an umbrella in all this rain. Why doesn't she have an umbrella in all this rain? Drenched, she looked at the ground as she approached me. The woman appeared to be holding something in her left hand. How creepy, I thought, watching the woman. Zzz, zzz. I could hear something. Zzz, zzz. The noise got louder as the woman got closer. Is she dragging something? I looked closer, but it was difficult to see in the rain. The woman got closer. Should I run? But I was intrigued. I stood still and waited for her to pass by me. Zuzu, zuzu. The noise got louder. Then I saw it. I really shouldn't have. The thing in her left hand, was that? No way. I was shocked. She was dragging a person. No way. Is that a person? I stood frozen at the unbelievable sight before me. I quickly regretted it. That was not something I should have seen just because I was curious. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. But I was so scared that my feet refused to move. Zuzu. Zuzu. Then, right when she passed by me, I saw it. Her face. What on earth was I seeing? Those eyes were no longer human. They were the eyes of a monster. Her eyes turned upwards, and her mouth was cut. What the hell? She's not human. I couldn't believe it. I'd never even heard stories about someone like this. I was confused at what I saw before me. That monster stopped beside me. Then our eyes met. Run. I ran as fast as I could. I tossed my umbrella aside and ran with all my might. Next up, the news. The parents of a young boy from elementary school reported that their son didn't return home from school yesterday, and a search is currently underway. They found his umbrella on the road home, as well as marks that looked like something had been dragged along the road. Police fear the boy may have been hit by a car and are investigating further. Hikiko-san is a leading Japanese urban legend that has even been turned into a movie. This woman drags something behind her constantly, which is how she got the name Hikiko-san. The story alone is scary, but the reason for Hikiko-san's birth has a terrible history behind it, and it's likely that some out there have experienced something similar themselves. These are the records that give the reason for her birth. Her real name is Mori Hikiko. She was a hikikomori, a shut-in, because of bullying. When she went to school, bullies would grab her ankles and drag her down the hall. Yet her parents refused to help her, and her abuse even continued at their own hands. Yet she still refused to go to school and locked herself in her room. Yet at some point, she started to leave when it rained outside. Perhaps because of her grudge towards being bullied, or perhaps to attack children. She grabs their feet and drags them around forever until she finds her next victim. The legend of Hikiko-san became popular because of how real it is. There are several ways you can deal with her. She may be cruel and violent, but she doesn't attack children who have been bullied or children who share her name. Her actual name is unknown. She can't stand the sight of her own face, so if you show her a mirror, she will retreat. If she asks you, "Is my face hideous?" you can reply with, "I'll drag you! I'll drag you!" and she'll run away. However, these are only rumors, so they may not be reliable. I have a single daughter. She's an adorable child with a bright smile. She's also amiable at school with lots of friends. I'm proud of my girl. And yet, last week, my beautiful girl passed out at school and was suddenly hospitalized. Nobody knew why. Her condition grew worse by the day. Today I sat by her side all day as she lay pained in her hospital bed. Hey, Mom? What's wrong? Are you in pain? No. I was wondering if I'll ever be able to go back to school and play like the other kids. Those words brought tears to my eyes, but I didn't want to make her worry. You'll be okay. Things will go back to normal again soon. Okay, I'll do my best, she said, and then closed her eyes to sleep. I stood up to go to the toilet. Then I saw it. Yeah, starting tomorrow, let's make sure to capture her image every day. Seeing it, I made my decision. A camera. I'd forgotten I'd put it there. Say cheese! Do I look cute? You look perfect. Show me! Show me! Starting from that day, I took a picture of my daughter every day. I don't know whether it's thanks to that, but my daughter has had so much fun taking and being in photos that she got healthier. So much so that her illness almost seemed like it had been a lie. Excuse me. While we were having fun and taking photos, the doctor came in. Ma'am, do you have a moment? Eh? Yes. I put the camera down for a moment and followed him out. What's this about? I'm terribly sorry, but it's about your daughter. We've been doing our utmost best, but it would appear, judging from your daughter's current condition, that she only has 3 more months to live. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to hear it. All I could do was stand there, dumbfounded. Tears flowed down my cheeks. That's just how things stand now. It's also possible her condition might improve. So please. The doctor said something like that, but honestly, I didn't hear him. I returned to the hospital room, and my daughter was sleeping. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. I was glad she was asleep. I didn't want her to see me like this. I grabbed the camera and looked at the photos we'd taken. What a nice smile. I looked at the photos of my daughter, tears streaming down my face. Huh? My eyes suddenly stopped on a single photo. What is this? A mysterious shadow in the photo. It was only covering my daughter. A mysterious shadow covered my daughter's face. Maybe it's from the light shining behind her. A month passed after receiving the news about my daughter. We continued having fun taking photos every day. I hadn't yet told her what the doctor said. Maybe we could still save her. The doctor had also done his best since then to look after my daughter. I couldn't throw away my hopes. That was the only way I could stay sane. Oh yeah, I developed those photos we took the other day. Really? Let me see. Would it be okay if I looked as well? I took the photos out of my bag and handed them to my daughter's doctor. Oh my. All of these photos are wonderful. Seeing them makes me want to smile as well. You're embarrassing me. This time spent together was so happy. Ma'am, what is... The moment the doctor looked at one of the photos, a dangerous expression fell over his face. What is it? Is there a strange photo in there? Maybe the camera was broken or there was a problem developing it. My daughter in the photo. Her face looked warped. What is it? Show me. No. This photo is just too cute. The doctor quickly switched the photo and handed her another. Ew, Mom, when did you take this? Thanks to the doctor's quick thinking, we were able to hide the truth from her. I have something I need to talk to your mother about. I'm going to borrow her for a moment, okay? Okay. There is something very clearly wrong here. I have an acquaintance who knows a lot about this sort of thing. Do you mind if I borrow this photo? Yes. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. There was no way I could believe it. Two months had passed since the doctor gave me the news about my daughter. Maybe that photo was nothing more than a coincidence. Her doctor passed the photo on to his friend, but he hadn't yet received any word on it. A ghost photo. It was no doubt something like that. Ha, there's no way. What's wrong, Mum? Why are you laughing so suddenly? Sorry, it's nothing. You're acting strange. The weather outside is nice, so why don't we take a photo? Okay. There was no reason to worry about it. My daughter right in front of me was fine. Time to change the mood. I turned the camera towards my daughter. A shadow in the photo that looks like an urn? Mom, what's wrong? It wasn't a coincidence. I could clearly see it. It was worse than before. Mom? Oh. When I came back to my senses, my daughter was lying on the ground. So you're here. The doctor called out to me. Can I talk to you for a moment? I didn't turn around, only nodded my head. It's about your daughter. They're done with the autopsy. They were unable to find any reasons for her death other than heart failure. It's the first time we've ever seen anything like this. There was nothing wrong with her body, So for her heart to suddenly stop working. And about that photo, just before I received word from my friend about it, my body suddenly jolted up. I wanted to tell you about it sooner, but the medium I asked refused to talk about it. I had to go and visit them directly to find out. The doctor continued speaking. It's something that appears when one is close to death. According to spirit mediums, it's something particularly evil, and after it has appeared, it's already too late. Stop. Apparently, they call it the Aztec Altar. That's enough! I screamed suddenly, and the doctor shut his mouth. That's enough. It's over now. I don't want to believe it. There's no way I could believe it. It's nothing more than an occult story. Can you really say that kind of stuff right to my face? Still, we have no choice but to believe it. The doctor then handed me some photos. What's this? These are some photos that your daughter and I took here. Look at it. Take the photos. I was at a loss for words. Could something like this really happen? Do you remember the photo you saw that time? There was nothing in these photos then. They only took on this appearance after your daughter died. The Aztec altar was visible in all the photos. So then, that means I'm next, doesn't it? Also known as the Urn of Sacrifice, this type of ghost photo is particularly famous urban legend. After taking the photo, it's said that the person in it will die. If there is more than one person in the photo, then everyone will become a target. The main feature of this legend is the red shadow that appears in the photo, which takes on the shape of a stand or vase. Both of these are said to have been used in Aztec rituals. The Aztec civilization flourished from the 13th to 15th centuries, and human sacrifices were a part of daily life because they believed the sun would disappear if they didn't offer sacrifices to it. A special stand and jar used to collect the live blood was used when they did this. That stand and vase are what people call the Aztec altar. It's said that when Aztec altar photos were shared on a ghost photo special on TV, numerous spirit mediums phoned in to complain about the terrible thing they'd shown. After that, the number of ghost photo specials dropped. Simply seeing these photos is enough to curse you as well, so they are particularly nasty. I recently married my long-term and beloved boyfriend. And today, on the anniversary of our wedding, the two of us bought a house. Well, all we could afford was an old house, but still, the scenery and surroundings are great. And the price was cheap, so we're satisfied. Our new life begins today. I'm so excited. Moving day. My husband and I packed up all our things. Honestly, it's a bit annoying, but moving still has its charms. Phew, we're mostly done. Yeah, shall we take a break? I'll go get us something to drink. Thanks, I'll have some soda. Gotcha. My husband went to get his wallet from the drawer. Hey, can you come here for a minute? He called out to me from the hall. Thinking he might have forgotten something, I went to see him. What's wrong? Did you forget something? What do you think that is? I looked towards what he was pointing at. A red crayon. Why was it here? What's that? A crayon? It was a well-used red crayon. Maybe we dropped it while we were working. But neither of us had crayons. We didn't have any kids. Thinking it might have belonged to the previous owners, I picked it up without care and tossed it in the trash. I spent today cleaning the house as well. I worked here while my husband went to work. Things were going well. Maybe I can put it here. I was close to finishing and made my way towards the front door with some empty boxes. Something caught my eye. A red crayon. I threw this out yesterday, right? I grabbed it to confirm. I threw this out yesterday, right? Yeah, it was the same red crayon I threw out the day before, and it was lying in the same place again. How creepy. This time I put it in my pocket instead. I'm home. My husband returned from work. I went to the door to greet him. Welcome back. My face went pale. A red crayon. This was a joke, right? I fell backwards. Hey, are you okay? Why? Why? I took the crayon out of my pocket. Is that? They're not returning after throwing them away. They're multiplying. Silence filled the room. It really is creepy. They're both the same shape and everything. They were. The crayon I'd picked up while cleaning was the same shape and size. It was too unnatural to be a coincidence. I couldn't believe it. Let's check where we found it, my husband said, and got down to check the area where we found the crayon. A short while later, he screamed, "Hey, come check this out!" He seemed to have found something, so I rushed over right away. Does this seem suspicious to you? What did he think was suspicious? The wall beneath the stairs. The crayon was on the floor in front of it. I tried hitting it. Bang, bang. It did sound strange. I was hitting the wall, yet it sounded like empty space behind it. After debating what to do, we decided to break through the wall. As long as it would get rid of that seed of doubt, we didn't care. I prayed nothing would be there. My husband grabbed a crowbar from the shed. A hammer probably would have been better. Well, here I go. I silently nodded, and in response, he raised the crowbar. The wall gave way. There was clearly an open space behind it. He continued with a few more strikes. We could see it. As a small hole opened in the wall, we could see the open space behind it. When we realized that, the both of us started hitting and kicking the wall. Finally, it was big enough for a person to fit through. I'm going in. My husband said and went in. Sorry, could you bring me the torch? It's too dark to see anything. I went and grabbed the torch and followed him in. It was big enough to fit 2 children. It was too dark to see. Turn the torch on. I was at a loss for words. The walls and floor were entirely covered in red letters. Father, Mother, I'm sorry. Let me out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Father, Mother, let me out. Let me out. I'm sorry. Let me out. Red crayons lay on the floor. This urban legend spread after a famous talent spoke about it on the radio. The primary factors behind it are the mysteries hidden in cheap houses, the problem of child abuse in society, and its vague believability. Variations exist where the crayon is either blue or green as well.